back when the Green Bay Packers ruled the roost and the Chicago Bears left all comers black and blue. This is the 126th meeting between the Packers and Bears, and one man who made many of those games memorable was Green Bay linebacker Ray Nitschke, whose number 66 is being retired. Too bad, because the present-day Packers could probably use Ray in their lineup. Today's green and gold is the lowest-ranked defensive unit in the league. But despite the problems on defense, the Packers are still alive in the NFC Central race because they can score points as quickly as they give them up. Quarterback Lynn Dickey has launched 29 touchdowns from his arm so far, tops in the NFL. So while Packer hopes rest on Lynn Dickey's wing, the prayers calling for a playoff spot in Chicago may be answered by their quarterback, a much younger and still learning Jim McMahon. Both teams are 6-7. The winner today will still have playoff hopes. The loser will be out of the running. From Lambeau Field in Green Bay, it's an NFL rivalry that has been going on since 1921. The Chicago Bears versus the Green Bay Packers in the NFL Game of the Week. Perhaps it was the sight of all-time great Ray Nitschke before the game that did it, or a Bart Starr pep talk, or a bowl of Wheaties. Whatever it was, something happened to Green Bay's defense in the first period, because the normally generous squad was as miserly as old Ebenezer Scrooge on Christmas Eve. Packers fans had to blink and check their programs. Was this the same defense they had watched all year? Or had old Ray Nitschke sneaked in with some of his mates from the 60s to show the new guys how it was done? Whatever it was, the bottom line was a bare attack that went nowhere. Defense had done a pretty good impression of the Packer unit of Davis, Adderley, Nitschke and company. Now it was time for running back Gary Ellis, number 31, to try his version of former Green Bay running star Jim Taylor. Ellis's 71-yard jaunt was an excellent start. And then fellow runner Harlan Huckleby, number 25, wrapped up a quick drive by skirting the right side for the first score of the game. The Packers led 7-0, having scored in just 2 plays. But in recent weeks, Green Bay has gotten off to early advantages only to see them disappear by game's end. The Bear defense, second in the conference, wanted to make sure no big leads materialized at all, however, and came back with a vengeance on the next series. But it's tough to keep a good team down, and after a brief pause, the Packers were back again, with Gary Ellis reprising his role as offensive star to the tune of 50 yards. After Gary's gallop, tight end Paul Kaufman, number 82, took over with 2 key catches that resulted in Green Bay's second touchdown of the first period. It was Dickey's 30th touchdown pass of the season, 1/3 of which have gone to Kaufman. Even with 3 defenders closing in, Kaufman worked himself free, and the Packers' lead extended to 14 points. Green Bay had shown their offensive explosiveness, but many fans don't realize that the Bears can move the football too. Earlier, the Packers had scored in just 2 plays. On their next series, Chicago did that one better, thanks to the blazing speed of wide receiver Willie Gault, number 83. In one astounding play, the Bears cut the Packers' lead to 14-7. Called a favorite for a gold medal had he decided to run in the '84 Olympics, is quite simply one of the fastest men in the NFL. There was nothing fancy to this pattern. Willie simply put his Jets in overdrive and ran past his man. 87 yards later, he had a touchdown. Once again, Green Bay had jumped to an early lead, but was seeing the other team climb back. Last week in Atlanta, a lead had been lost due to some costly interceptions thrown by Dickey. As the second period began, the Green Bay quarterback had another pass stolen away, this time by cornerback Leslie Frazier, number 21. Fortunately for the Packers, Chicago could not take advantage of the turnover, so Green Bay put the pass on the shelf for a while and went back to the running game. And why not? So far, the results have been outstanding when Gary Ellis got the ball. So Green Bay returned to this strategy throughout the remainder of the half. Ellis, in turn, was just about unstoppable. Just 8 carries, Ellis gained 124 yards, better than 15 yards per attempt. But his labors went for naught when 2 long drives ended in missed field goals by place kicker Jan Stenerud. Chicago tried to take advantage of Green Bay's misfortune, but only managed more misfortune of their own. After Jim McMahon ran around for what seemed like a millennium, he thought he spotted the receiver he was looking for. Instead, he ended up putting the ball exactly where he didn't want it. Linebacker John Anderson, number 59, had his 5th interception of the year, best on the team. And shortly after the pickoff, first-half hero Gary Ellis did it again, bursting into the end zone to make it 21-7 Packers. Gary Ellis had clearly been the dominant player of this half as he had run right through the Bears. But with less than 3 minutes to go before the break, it was time for someone else to seek the limelight. That someone was Chicago quarterback Jim McMahon, who put together a masterful 80-yard drive that got the Bears back in the game. With precision tosses to receivers such as Matt Suey, Willie Gault, and Emery Moorhead, McMahon ran the 2-minute drill to perfection. The Packer defense, so tough at the game's outset, was now finding it difficult to stop McMahon's well-placed passes. almost ran it in himself as time wound down, but he was stopped just short. So he turned matters over to the Bears' goal line authority, Matt Suhey, number 26. And the former number 1 pick from Penn State burrowed in for the score that made it 21-14 Green Bay. Time ran out in the first half, and the Bears were back in the hunt. Owners of a 3-game winning streak, and with their season on the line as well, Chicago was ready to slug it out for another 30 minutes. A half of seesaw action that would end up going down to the wire. The Bears had marched 80 yards to score to end the first half and cut Green Bay's lead to 21-14. Chicago's offense needed to maintain that kind of momentum as the second half got underway. And to do that, the Bears turned to their peerless running back, Walter Payton, number 34. The Bears got the ball to Payton every way they could, but despite Sweetness's patented high stepping, Green Bay was ready. McMahon was forced into third and long situations on each of Chicago's 3 possessions in the third quarter. He did manage to throw for the first down a couple of times, but for the most part, he was flushed out of the pass pocket and pressured into running for the long yardage. It was not the ideal way to move the ball. With the Bears' offense sputtering in the third period, the Packers had an excellent opportunity to increase their 1-touchdown advantage. Lynn Dickey had not been overly sharp in the first half, but he had thrown for 147 yards and a touchdown. But the numbers were beside the point anyway. The Packers' bread and butter is the passing game, so you can bet Dickey will keep pumping his right arm. As period 3 progressed, Dickey found the range, using all of his talented receivers. When he hit Philip Epps, number 85, for 45 yards, the Packers had the ball first and goal at the Chicago 8-yard line. But Green Bay's scoring threat ended right there. On the next play, Gary Ellis, who accounted for 174 total yards in the first half alone, fumbled, and the Bears' Mike Singletary recovered. An apparent second fumble occurred after the whistle, and Chicago, the NFC's toughest defense to score against, had bent but not broken. Surprisingly, the third quarter was scoreless, and as the final period awaited, it was still Green Bay by 7, 21-14. Mike Ditka had remained rather calm recently, but the Bears had also won 3 in a row prior to their matchup with Green Bay. But this game was testing his patience, and matters went from bad to worse when the Packers' Harlan Huckleby scored his second touchdown of the game early in the fourth quarter. Now led 28-14, and they appeared to be in command. Of course, Green Bay has made a habit of losing leads and games in 1983, so the Bears could not be counted out just yet. The Packers were determined not to blow this one, and they got strong play from an unexpected source, their defense. Entering the game, Green Bay's defense was the worst in the entire league. But the Packers put together a powerful pass rush in period 4, preventing McMahon from hooking up with his speedy crew of receivers. feel that sacking the quarterback in the fourth quarter is the key to winning in the NFL. True or not, the Packers were simply trying to end a two-game losing streak. Both defeats coming in overtime after they had blown leads in regulation. But the Bears were not yet ready to accept defeat. Their defense is the second best overall unit in the conference. They had given up but a field goal in the previous two games. With crunch time quickly approaching, Chicago's defense put the crunch on Green Bay. With 6 minutes remaining in the game, the Packers tried to cross up Chicago with a halfback pass. But Gary Ellis's heave was picked off by Leslie Frazier for his second interception of the game. Frazier went 56 yards with the theft, putting the Bears in excellent offensive position. 4 plays later, Matsui scored from a yard out. And with just under 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Chicago now trailed 28-21. The Bears had not come from more than a touchdown behind to win in any of their 6 1983 victories. But then this was their first meeting with Green Bay, a team that had squandered 2 and 3 touchdown leads on a number of occasions this season. It appeared that the Packers were about to do it again when Gary Ellis committed his third turnover of the second half. Number 50, Mike Singletary, snatched Ellis's fumble out of midair, and the Bears were once again in Green Bay territory following a Packer miscue. But the Pack would not fall apart so easily in this game. With the Bears inside the Green Bay 20-yard line, Ezra Johnson, number 90, sacked McMahon for the second time in the quarter, forcing Chicago to make a difficult choice. With 2.5 minutes remaining, would the Bears attempt the field goal, or would they go for the first down on 4th and 16 from the Green Bay 25-yard line? The Bears would go for it. But they would not make it. Dennis McKinnon's reception netted only 14 yards. Green Bay's defense had held. The Packers' 28-21 lead was safe. They had not allowed their opponent to come back in the game's final minutes. Victory was theirs. You didn't believe all that, did you? If you did, just watch what happened when the Bears forced Green Bay to punt after 3 quick plays gained but 6 yards. Dennis McKinnon returned the punt 59 yards for the tying touchdown with 1 minute and 50 seconds remaining in period 4. The Packers were at it again. They had given up 2 touchdowns in a 3-minute stretch late in the final period, the second on a punt return. And you'll notice that no Packer defender even came close to tackling McKinnon. To the Bears' credit, they refused to quit when all looked bleak. And for McKinnon, the rookie free agent from Florida State, it was his 3rd big play in the last 4 weeks. Like his other 2, he hoped this one would lead to a Chicago victory and a chance, however slight, to remain in the playoff picture. It was 28-28. It appeared that the Packers would go to overtime for the 3rd week in a row. The Green Bay still had a minute and a half to work with, and Dickey had James Lofton to work with. 67 yards later, the Packers were at the Chicago 6-yard line, and this time they would not lose. 2 running plays ran the clock down to 3 seconds. Then it was time for old reliable Jan Stenerud to boot the 19-yard field goal that gave Green Bay the victory. For the 3rd week in a row, the outcome of Green Bay's game was not decided until the final play. For the first time in 3 games, the Packers won. They remain in the running for a playoff spot in the tightly bunched NFC. The final score from Green Bay, the Packers 31, the Bears 28.